Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a post-match pint in association with Purity Ale. If you use the code #VillaView, you'll get 10% off everything that Purity have to offer, and they offer some lovely stuff. Talking of lovely stuff, Aston Villa did not offer lovely stuff at the City Ground tonight against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest 1, Aston Villa 1, and I'm joined by Chris Dolan to dissect the game around 40 minutes after it's finished. And Dolan, it's just not good, is it?
No,
Everyone knows me. I'm positive. I'd love to come up on here and dress things up, but I cannot do it. There is nothing to show that Aston Villa are making progress at the moment. I want to see something. I want Steven Gerrard to do well, but I am not seeing anything from the football club on the pitch that's telling me that we're heading in the right direction.
it's just boring, mate. It's just really boring, that I can't think of a game where I've been interested. I just sit there and just sort of stare at a blank screen. It's just so boring to watch. It's dire, and I think as you said before, it's not sustainable. How is that sustainable? It's like it's just there's no game plan. Players don't look like they know what they're doing. It's slow. It's lazy. Players are taking 2 or 3 touches when it should be, pass and move, pass and move.
I think players have to take 2 or 3 touches because they get the ball and there's literally nothing in front of them.
Exactly. There's no movement, and it's just so slow from back to front and sideways. And honestly, mate, it is just boring. It is so boring. And I don't enjoy the games at the minute. I don't look forward to them. Don't enjoy them. I sit there. I barely celebrate when we score. Barely celebrate. I just kind of go, way, woo, there's nothing like.
I mean, it's relief, to be honest. I felt relief when we scored because it meant that we weren't going to have to chase the game, although I didn't know what was going to happen in the second half in terms of us trying to chase the win. But you know what I mean? It was more relief because we were 1-0 down, and you'd think when Villa go 1-0 down, that's game over. They got back relatively quickly, but in that second half, did we really create anything? No.
Nope.
And that's a side that teams will go there and they'll probably concede a lot of goals, Nottingham Forest, because they're not the best defensively. You look at the 3 centre-back or the defence that they had on the pitch tonight, that's a defence that Premier League teams will get at and should get at. Yeah. And we couldn't really do it.
Forest were awful. I mean, I think they're probably the worst team we've played all season. And either teams could have played all night and not one set of attacking players would have created anything.
But I suppose Forest have got an excuse with that, haven't they? Because, they cobbled this squad together, 22, 23, however, 100 signings that they've made. They're not going to have patterns of play and stuff, are they? But we probably should.
They're still fresh footballers. They should still be good enough to carry out a plan. A bit like us.
I think Forest did carry out the plan. I think they carried out their plan pretty much to a T. Frustrate Villa, sit back because Villa aren't going to break down. I said to you before we came on, there was a period in the second half where McGinn had the ball. He's desperately looking for something in front of him, some kind of movement, some form of attacking shape from Villa. It wasn't there. Passes it back to Konsa. Konsa gives it back to McGinn. McGinn looks forward again, takes 2 or 3 touches. Nothing in front of him. Back to Konsa. Konsa out wide to Cash. Cash goes back to Konsa. And Nottingham Forest could sit back, half kind of make an effort to press. It's a token press, really, because I'm sure they were told you don't need to press this team. They kind of half come out and press Villa, which makes Villa go back because they know that Villa aren't going to be able to have the nous to break them down. I'm just looking at that team and I'm thinking that shouldn't be the case with this team going forward. I've just tweeted before we've come on saying, as it stands, my belief is that Villa carry on the way they are. They will be in a relegation fight this season. And that, in 2 ways, I don't think that's a relegation fighting squad in terms of, I think the players are probably too good. And I wouldn't like to see that team in a relegation battle either. I think, I don't think it's that type of team. That's not a dig at them. I just don't think it's that type of team. And if you look at the teams we've played, if you've watched Villa this season, just kind of searching for some form of identity, it isn't there. I want it to be. As I've said, I want Steven Gerrard to do well as Aston Villa manager because that means Aston Villa are doing well. But there is nothing there that I can say that we're moving forward at the moment. And the club's kind of made a rod for their own back when they sacked Dean Smith because they used the term continuous improvement, and there isn't continuous improvement here. If anything, we've gone backwards. You could point to a couple of injuries, or Gerrard would point to a couple of injuries, and it's fair in some ways because they were going to be key players, Kamara and Carlos, but Kamara's only been missing for a couple of weeks. It's just going forward. Carragher had the stats up before the game. The stats going forward, that they are that they are relegation fight stats. In
Mhm.
terms of chances created, goals, it looks pretty basic to me. That the thing we were third in was crosses, because how often do we score off these crosses? Not very often. From top of my head, I can't think of too many goals that we've scored off crosses this season. And then the defensive numbers are good. They've improved. We have improved defensively over the last month. You know, you can't argue with that. We're one of the only teams that managed to contain Haaland, even though he scored. I would say, you know, we contained him. That was the only game I've enjoyed this season. Plucky performance against Manchester City, because I believe that the teams we've played, we should be higher in the league. And as it goes on and we play other better teams, those results are going to come back and cost us. And that's why at the moment, I think if I had to say, are Villa going to be a top half team or are Villa going to be a bottom half team fighting against relegation? At the moment, I would have to say more likely they'll be down the bottom fighting relegation.
Mm. I mean,
I've given you a lot there, sorry.
yeah, that was the Bardell rant of all rants.
It's not a rant. I'm just telling you what I feel and what I see.
Well, if you let me
Sorry.
speak, I'll try and tell you.
Yeah.
For me, I've got to start questioning the ownership now, because how can anybody look at that with any kind of aspirations and any kind of thoughts of pushing up into that top 8, even that top 10, and think the way we're playing is acceptable? It's just not acceptable at any level. It's appalling. There's something just not right within. You tell me that the players on that pitch, the top half of that pitch, we had what, £95 million worth of attacking talent up front. Bundia, who we've been crying out for to start, I thought was probably one of the worst players on the pitch.
To be honest, I think singling anyone out as worst player is a little bit harsh, because I do think it's a collective at the moment. I think, you know, I mean, I completely
I'm
understand
just
what
telling
you're
you how
saying
I'm just
into blind alleys, but there's nothing going on up top. There's just
Yeah,
no,
I'm just, I'm just,
yeah.
I'm just telling you how I see, how I saw it tonight. Watkins looks shot to bits. I mean, he looks completely void of any kind of confidence. And it's interesting. You look at the captaincy, and Gerrard took the captaincy off Mings to improve his game. But what he's done is he's destroyed the game of John McGinn, because McGinn again just looks terrified. He looks terrified to make a mistake, and he looks like he's carrying the world on his shoulders.
I genuinely feel for McGinn at the
I
moment.
do. I do, because he's been a top player for us. He's been a top servant, pound for pound. We've said probably one of the best buys we've ever made. And that captaincy it's just weighing too heavy on him.
Do you
I mean,
think even last season, when I don't think he was on top of his game by any stretch of the imagination, John McGinn, that header, I don't think he tries and
yeah,
heads that last season. I think
mate. But for Scotland, he's putting his boot through that, and this is what I can't understand. Like, for Scotland, he's putting his boot through that. That's hitting the roof of the net. But he just the whole team as a collective. I mean, the one thing you can say, bar the shambolic defending for their goal, I thought the back four were good against it. I thought Cash came in. I thought he was very good. I thought Young was outstanding. Young's been our best player over the last month, but by some distance. When Digne comes back fit, for me, Young has to keep his place, because he's been that good. Digne won't get back into that team when he's fit.
I think
You
Young has to be on the pitch at the moment as a
know,
lieutenant,
yeah,
as a leader at Aston Villa. I think he
I
has to be
agree.
on that pitch
I,
somewhere, even if it was to be in the front three. I think
yeah,
Ashley Young has to be in the team for Aston Villa
yeah.
at the moment.
And there's just frustration. I mean, there was moments tonight when I thought Luis was lucky to stay on the pitch. I
Oh,
know,
you should do that red card.
what is he thinking? Even Ramsey lost it, lost.
It's frustration, because they know
Yeah,
the team's
yeah,
not playing well.
complete frustration. And what are we going to hear again from Gerard after the game? It's on us. It's on the coaching staff. We're going to have to go away. We're going to have to work on patterns of play. We're unbeaten in four. We're hard to beat. We're pragmatic. We've got to roll our sleeves up. All the same shite that we heard under Bruce, that we heard under McLeish, we heard under Lambert. All the same garbage that we've been hearing for the last sort of 10 years. And I mean, if that's us going back to basics, I mean, Christ Almighty! I mean, it is hard to watch. It
I
really,
saw it
really
described as
is.
brutal on Twitter. We're
Yeah, it's
brutal going
brutal. It's
forwards, and it's
brutal to
probably
watch,
fair.
and the system doesn't work. This narrow sort of tippy tappy playing. with the fullbacks as our kind of, as our outball, as our width. It
Well, there
just
are attacking outlets supposedly
doesn't
in
work.
this system.
It doesn't work. I saw stats tonight. We had 16 crosses. I think one out of the 16 actually was successful. I think that was the Watkins header at the back post when Henderson made a half save, which is the only thing he did all night apart from pick the ball out of the net for Ashley Young. But either keeper, I mean, Martinez made that sort of save for the cameras,
Mm.
and then Henderson got down for Watkins header, and that was it. That was it. We did not create a single thing all night, and we never looked like creating a single
There was
a
a
single thing.
brief flurry after we scored. We had the goal disallowed, obviously. There was a brief flurry where suddenly it felt like a little bit of confidence appeared. But I think the confidence thing is, I think the players are
Yeah,
suffering.
and I'm going to get panned for saying this, right? But at the minute, for the football club, draws are no good. I'd rather lost that game tonight.
Well,
I'd
no,
rather lost that game.
I never would rather lose.
No, no, I'm not saying I want to lose. I'm not saying I want to
You
lose,
did just
but
say I'd rather have lost that game tonight. You did
yeah,
just
but
say that. I
you
think
know
I
what I
know what
mean?
you're trying to say.
It's just delaying the inevitable. It is so hard to watch. We are nowhere near where we need to be. We've gone backwards since Dean Smith left. It is painful at the minute, and it shouldn't be like this. And like I said at the start of my discussion there, I've got to look at the owners, because if I'm Suarez and Edens, I have Perzo in charge. Well, it's on them. The buck stops with the owners, and nothing's being done about it. And from what I can see, at the minute, the day-to-day running of the football club is Perslow trying to save face and Gerard trying to save face, and they're both trying to keep each other in a job. And we aren't playing for the fans. We aren't playing attractive football. What we're doing is playing to save Stephen Gerrard's job. That's what we're doing. Like, there's
Yeah,
no sense. There's no sense of improvement. There's no sense of let's create a DNA and let's create patterns of play and let's be fluid. Let's be hard to beat. Let's really really go at it and give it a go and put a show on for the fans. At the minute, it's lads. We just can't lose. We can't lose the game, and we play not to lose. We don't play to win. We play not to lose.
yeah.
And turgid.
I think you've raised a couple of valid points there. I would say, all this pragmatic stuff that you mentioned before, I understand it to an extent because you're trying to become hard to beat because you want to win games. But now we've won 1 in 4, and really those last two Leeds was there for the absolute taking.
Awful. Terrible.
Tonight was probably there for the taking as well because it was a poor outfit. No disrespect to them, but it was a poor outfit we were playing against. And I've said the same. I think at the moment it does. Look, we'll never know for fact, but it feels like the way we're playing at the moment is to protect Steven Gerrard's reputation in terms of like how many games he's lost,
Yeah.
rather than trying to move Aston Villa forward. I don't think even if we'd have won a couple of games, maybe if we'd have won one of these games in the last week or so, I still don't think it's sustainable moving
No.
forward. I don't think what we're doing moves Aston Villa forward. Yes, we might be putting a few points on the board, but long term, this isn't going to make us better because you've gone away from the philosophy that you were trying to implement. So it's almost like a sign of that philosophy wasn't going to work, but then you strip it right back down to basics. But really, that isn't going to work either. Yes, as I say, we picked up a few points, but that isn't going to work either. It's not sustainable. I need to find another word to use because I keep using that same
But
word
what were
over
we
and over
playing at the end?
again.
So I was trying to work it out. So we had a back four at the end. We had
God knows what we were playing at the end.
Dunker
4-4-2, I think.
and then we had Buendia, and then we had probably in behind Ings, and then we had probably Watkins and Archer on.
Your guess is as good as mine. It
I
felt
mean,
to me 4-4-2. Watkins was on the left wing and Buendia was on the right wing. Archer and Ings up front, but I could be wrong.
I mean,
I don't know. But
there
when
was
managers are doing things like that, that tells you usually that they're out of ideas. We've seen other managers. This isn't just a Steven Gerrard thing. We've seen other managers at Aston Villa do similar things to what Steven Gerrard did in the last 10-15 minutes tonight, and it's never worked. It's
yeah.
not anything that's ever yielded any success. You throw in all your attacking players on, but then even then, if you've worked on stuff in training all week, you haven't worked on that.
No,
Absolute fact, you haven't
no.
worked on.
I mean, I was waiting. I was waiting for Chris Samba to appear and be chucked up front. It's I mean, it's. I've just seen the comments there from his interview. I've paused Sky at the minute, so
Yeah, me too.
I'll watch the post match stuff afterwards. But it's the same drivel, the same sound bites. Again, show me proof that it's going to change. It's like I said at the start of the season before the Bournemouth game. Everyone's going on about top six and top eight and all this nonsense, and I was like, well, give me some evidence to back your theory. Where is the
You
evidence that?
did. You if that was fair.
Yeah, where is the evidence that we're going to finish in the top? Listen, we may finish top half, but it's
Well, we
very
could have gone
unlikely.
ninth if we'd have won tonight.
Where is the evidence that we are going to improve and make a challenge and do what the clubs have said that we want to do? Because I don't see it, and there's been no evidence in the last 10, 12 years. And again, tonight, there's no evidence that these players will click. Because if you're going to play the same players, the same formation,
But he doesn't do that, does he? He plays the same formation, but he doesn't. I don't think we've had the same front three any games in a row this season.
but nothing's going to change. I mean,
It's changed every game.
you
To my
put
belief.
Billy in there, he's non-existent. You put Bundy in there tonight, he was non-existent. You've got Watkins up there on his own. He's feeding on scraps, and he looks his confidence looks shot to bits. You throw in Archer, well, I mean, he's barely kicked the ball. Danny Ings again just runs around with his head down, looks completely lost. So again, how is it going to change? There's nothing Coutinho. I mean,
Coutinho is the biggest worry for me at the
I mean,
along with McGinn, because I think McGinn is, like you say, I think
unbelievable.
he I just feel for McGinn so much at
Yeah,
the moment. The
yeah.
captaincy has just added an extra layer of responsibility on him, and he's become the scapegoat now as well, like Mings was last season when he was captain. I don't think there should be a scapegoat in terms of the players at the moment, because I think collectively it's not good enough. That just all around from the club on the pitch at the moment is not good enough. I mean, there's a stat just been given to me here. Villa's XG of 0.72 is the lowest of anyone against Forest this season,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
seventh
yeah.
time in 9 games this season in which Villa's XG was under 1.
Saw that.
That
Saw that. Yeah.
that can't be dressed up.
No, it
You
can't.
can talk about the XG in the last game against Leeds, but that's there in black and white. Going forward, we're only be in a relegation battle
Mate,
with that. We'll go down if that continues.
we are going nowhere, and we're going nowhere fast. And my old man said, who I've got a lot of respect for, they put a tweet up earlier on. I don't know if Adam can find the tweet, but it was regarding prices on everything being bumped up, on merch, on tickets. Everything's gone up. Everything has gone up in terms of price, but yet we have drastically gone down. And yes, I understand football is to an extent a business, and it is important because we need to bring in revenue, we need to make money, and we need to be sustainable. And I understand that these players and, well, especially managers, they're their job still was still on the line. These people still have families, and they've still got they've got bills to pay. But you should not, you can't expect to charge football fans what we charge for merchandise, tickets, and all the rest of it, and serve up that shite, because it's not on, and again, it's a bit like tonight, the money that the money, the time, the effort to take a day off work and then go down spending a couple of £100 per game. It's like if I was going to a restaurant and I was being charged £80 £80 a go for shit service and shit food, I'm not going to go back. I'm just not going to go back. It's as simple as that. But yet,
Supporting
obviously,
your football team is just a niche thing, isn't it? There's
there's that
nothing else in the
loyalty,
world that
that
works
loyalty.
this way.
Exactly. But at the minute, I really, really dislike my football club. I really dislike it, and I've not had a dislike for that football club since the days of sort of Steve Bruce, and then you look back before with Tony
But
Shea.
that wasn't that long ago.
I know it wasn't, but but under this ownership, generally it's been very, very positive, and Dean Smith did a phenomenal job, and it just shows you how important it is in bringing the players and the fans and the club together. um
He was the glue. I mean, I'm not saying
he
that he
was.
shouldn't have got the sack. I mean, I
No.
personally at the time was a big supporter of him, but when he got the sack, I accepted it and
Yeah,
tried to get behind the new man that came in. But
yeah.
I think there is something fundamental that Dean Smith was the glue in the middle of everything that kept it all together. And he was one of us. But he was obviously, he had the ear of the board and the other people working at the club. He did kind of amalgamate it all together, and it's a shame because I do genuinely believe the club has done so much good in the last 2-3 years with the fans, with everything as a club in the whole, the way they were operating. I genuinely believe they've done so much good, but it's kind of been lost in the last
Yeah,
12
it
months.
has.
And the ticket stuff and the prices on the tickets specifically, I would say Villa have always been very, very fair with the ticket prices. There's never been a massive hike in my time, and in my season ticket, for example. I've had my season ticket for 27, 28 years now, and there's never been a huge hike on it, except for when I turned 18 or whatever it was, when it changed from a junior to an adult. The timing's crap because the way the world is at the moment is absolutely ridiculous. The state of this country is probably the worst it's been in my life from what I remember. Obviously, I'm an adult now. I've been a child in the past, but the state of the country is terrible. Villa have rose those prices at a time when a lot of people who want to go to football will be struggling financially, and unfortunately for the club, as I say, I think they've always been very reasonable. If you time that with the time when the club's not doing well on the pitch, then questions are going to be asked, and we're not doing well on the pitch. If we were losing games, but the fans were, football is a results business, but the problem is at the moment, we're not really getting results and we're not playing well either. So
Getting
there's
nothing.
nothing. It's all come together to be the perfect storm, but the
Yeah, I mean,
imperfect storm.
we're not doing anything. I mean, we have no identity, and yes, we're unbeaten in four, but we've picked up what 3, 4, what 5 points, 6 points out of a possible. My math is
The
shot.
basic math here is all over the
Yeah,
shop.
all over the place. I mean, you wouldn't think I work for a 10 billion pound business,
People,
but
people have been getting cheap fashion garments for the
shot
last couple
over.
of years, I would say.
But yeah, I mean, there's no identity, and it's just dull to watch, and I'm just bored and fed up, and it's that one thing in your life that you look forward to, and those 3 points as a Villa fan for me always feel like we've won the FA Cup. 3 points for me it's just the best feeling in the world, and your week's much better, and you feel better, and you got a spring in your step, and I know there's more to life than football,
But that's
but
the problem, when we beat Southampton. I don't think many people did feel like that.
no, and this is the thing. Like I sat there and went, "That was appalling." And even tonight, if we had a snatched the last minute winner, you would have looked at that and went, "Again, it's not sustainable." As you say, like it is not sustainable, and it's delaying the inevitable. And at the minute, I have to question the hierarchy. I mean, Perzo's gone very quiet all of a sudden. Not a peep out of him.
Well,
The
he
guy.
had this AGM thing a few weeks ago. I've not really seen much of what
No,
was said in
there's
that.
not. I've
I
barely
don't know
heard.
many people that went to that,
I've
but
barely heard anything. There's obviously talk about the crest and all that nonsense. But I mean, when things are going well, Purge was the first to sit down in front of AVTV, and when it's going well, he's happy to be the face of the club. But he's a bit like Liz Truss. He's hiding. He's gone missing, and our club at the minute it's a shit show from top to bottom, and we're very, very unlikable, and our manager is very unlikable, and
I think he's,
he doesn't get
Steven
it.
Gerrard over the years has come across very well in the media, I would say.
Mm,
He seems a shadow of his former self in interviews. It's almost like he's lost something. He's lost that bit of X factor, that bit of spark. He feels very downtrodden with what he's saying, the way he's speaking. I don't believe that he is like that the way he is in interviews at the moment. I've never really spent any time with him, so I can't say for a fact. But he's not coming across in the way that I remember him coming across as a player or even as a manager. The bits I saw of him at Range, I watched so much Steven Gerrard content before he got the job because I knew he was getting the job.
but
And
mate, it's Rangers.
the
Mate,
way
it's
he's
Rangers.
coming across now is
But,
because he's under pressure.
but mate,
It's because
Rangers.
he's struggling.
You're gonna have a 65% win ratio when you manage Celtic or Rangers. You just are. I mean, and when Job was managing Rangers, he was managing Rangers. Against a team managed by Neil Lennon, and that was probably one of Celtic's worst squads in many years. If Jar goes up to Rangers now and faces off against this current Celtic squad, they're getting
Good luck
battered.
saying his name.
And
I can't either.
Postecoglou,
Oh, excellent.
they're getting battered. And that's a fact. So you look at what he done up in Scotland, mate, and listen, I'm Irish. I understand Celtic, and I understand Rangers. I understand how it works, and I could manage. I could manage up in Scotland. I could manage Celtic and Rangers. It really isn't difficult. You're essentially managing 4 games a season, and that's the derby, and that is it. So yeah, it is. It's turgid. It is rank, and I am properly bored of everything I'm seeing, and that's how I feel at the minute, and I probably speak for a large majority of the fan base when everybody says this can't continue. It can't continue, and it's clearly a bad match. It's clearly a bad fit, and the club, if the club have any ambition, then they need to act, because our next game against Chelsea at home, I mean, God knows what that'll be like. Potter
They're
will
reinvigorated all of a sudden, aren't they?
Potter will play Potter ball, and we'll probably get blown in the Timbuktu, and
I mean, we did beat Brighton twice last season under Gerrard, in fairness. I know Chelsea's a different beast.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
this is what I'm saying about the fixtures. I look at those fixtures there, and Chelsea at home, tough game. Fulham away, we're largely not very good at Fulham, as me and you know, because we've been together many times, and you'll be pleased to know that we are going there next Thursday together, so we can completely write that one off. Brentford, again, impossible for us to do anything against Brentford. Newcastle are really on the rise at
yeah.
the moment. That's a football club that's set alight at the moment, flying. Everyone's on the same hymn. Everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet. Everyone's aligned, all moving in the right direction. And then Manchester United, I mean, we haven't had a great record against them either. So I look at those next 5 games, and this is where I'm saying
A
the points
point.
we've picked up from the games we've had so far, fixtures.
I mean, look
I
at that.
think I believe at the moment, if things stay as they are, we will be in a relegation fight.
Look at that. And people say, "Oh yeah, we were only 3 points away from ninth." Yeah, but it's easier said than done. I mean, we're going to get nowhere near ninth if we carry on playing the way we're playing. We're going to get nowhere near that top half. And again, this is going to be another season of us flirting around 13th, 12th, 15th, 16th. Pissing about with the are we going to get relegated? Are we not going to get relegated? Martinez is going to go and have an amazing World Cup. He's probably going to win the World Cup with Argentina. He'll be off next summer, and it'll just be like a complete waste of 4 years in the Premier League. A complete waste. We're going to have to rip it up again and start again, unless we act fast. Because you're telling me that squad of players aren't capable of a top half finish.
I think in the right system, that team should be capable of top 10, at least. That's my
Every
opinion.
single player's done it at other clubs. Yet you come to Villa, and it seems to be some kind of poison chalice.
Coutinho is the biggest one for me at the moment, and like I said, along with a few others. But I'm not singling him out to have a dig at him. I'm just saying we know what a good footballer Philippe Coutinho is. There's no doubting Philippe Coutinho's ability. But you watch him for Villa, he's not involved in games
Nothing.
because
No.
the system does not get anything out of him, and yet
No.
we're not changing it to
And
get the
people
best.
say,
He's a world class player. I don't care what anyone says.
well, people were saying last year about Coutinho, and he didn't have maybe the quality of players around him. But you take what he's doing in isolation, set pieces. He can't even beat the fucking the first man on the wall. He had a chance there when he cut inside, and he just blazed it over the bar. So these are chances that Coutinho's having.
Because he's snatching, because he knows that's the only shot he's going to have in the game.
Well, exactly. But even his quality from dead balls, from free kicks, has been awful. And the club put this content out every week of these forward players, ping them into the top bins, and 1-2s and little dinks and little flicks. That's all well and good in training, but you bring it on day of match day, and they all just play within themselves. And I would just love to know what Gerard says to them before going out, and before the game, and then at half time. I would love to know what he says. Because it sounds to me like, don't lose it, lads. It's like, don't go and win it, just don't lose it. And there's
You'd
no.
never say don't win it, but I understand your point. I
Do you
mean,
know what I mean? Don't lose it.
it's clear from his interviews, pre-match and post-match at the moment, that there is a safety first element there. He would argue that probably has to be there because we were too open. That's a fact. We were way too open, but we just don't look like we're ever going to score.
No,
Ashley Young's pulled out a moment of brilliance tonight.
totally, yeah.
That isn't going to happen every week.
No.
As much as I love Ashley Young, that isn't going to happen every week. And
Yeah.
the fact that our top scorer is about 8 or 9 players on one.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Mate, goals win your games, not clean sheets. Goals win your games, not clean sheets. And It's something I had thought as well, and Carragher brought it up actually on at the start of Monday Night Football. Like, you look at the managers that he's worked with or played under, sorry, I should say, and you see Houllier and Benitez, and they're hardly regarded for their world class attacking football. So you look at someone who's had a mentor, and his mentors have largely been very kind of defensive style managers. And then you look at someone like Arteta, who's learned from Pep, and you can just see the clone that is Arteta. Like the way his team play, the way he is on the touchline, his demeanor, his passion, his enthusiasm. That comes from Pep Guardiola, and then Guardiola obviously got his from Cruyff. So it's yeah. There's nothing more I can say on it at the minute, mate. Like, my takeaways from tonight are that we are atrocious to watch, boring, and I really, at the minute, like I said, dislike the football club. I've got a real dislike for Aston Villa Football Club at the minute, and yeah, nothing's going to change unless the club changes, and unless the club get their act together. Um, and that is it. And the thing with where we're at the minute is, when you have a manager that's essentially one defeat away from the sack, as you say,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
not
don't know whether he's one defeat away from the sack, but I would say
well.
that he's always one defeat away from the fans wanting him to go. And I
The
think
fans,
I
the fans want
believe,
him
I don't know
out.
how true it is, I believe the fans were chanting for him to go at the end of the game
Yeah,
in the away end from what he says on Twitter.
yeah. Well, we'll see about that. But yeah,
That's always if you know what's happened, you're in trouble.
yeah, and it's like per Ashley Priest got an earful last week, and asked why Archer wasn't coming on, and what does he do this week? He puts Archer on, so it's almost, in a way, he was almost putting Archer on to keep Priest happy. And when you try and,
No,
again,
he wasn't doing that. He
well,
wasn't
I
doing.
mean, is it a coincidence, or is it a
There,
coincidence?
there wasn't much context behind that. Look, I'm coming here and criticising the way Villa are being managed at the moment, but it's only fair to say that I know someone that was in that press conference, and when you see those quotes in written form rather than with a bit of context when you were there, it wasn't as bad as what's been made out.
Okay,
Because he'd asked about Archer on Friday and he asked about Archer again on Sunday. Tim Gerrard was making a joke, are you related to Cameron Archer? Which I don't think there's anything wrong with. We can't lambast him for not having a personality and then, criticise him for stuff like that. When something's there in text form, it looks a lot worse than it was if you were actually there and to listen to it. That again, so I've been told by someone that was at the press conference. So I think, stuff like that's a bit out, not from you, stuff like that I think is a bit out of order because
yeah,
it's been taken completely out of context. And I don't think that's fair. We're sitting here and giving our opinions on the team at the moment, the way they've been managing. We're saying it's not good enough, but you can't just slam him for everything. I don't think that's fair.
fair enough. No, that's a fair
Yeah,
point. It's a fair point. But yes, again, when things aren't going well,
yeah, of
everything
course, it's
heightens.
natural. I would say I'm always quite tame for a football fan in general, and Villa try and be reasoned, and I never. Not, I probably have done it a couple of times, but I never launch into anyone or call for anyone to get the sack. But I'm worried at the moment by Aston Villa on the pitch, and I don't see where the improvement's coming from at the moment under Steven Gerrard. I want to, but I just do not see it at all. I'm concerned about the direction we're heading. That expected goal stat,
Mm,
7 out of 9
mm,
under one for expected goals. There's no dressing it up. There
no.
just isn't anything you can say. And I mean, are we getting worse going forward week by week? Is it
Well, it just
any? I thought we looked most dangerous against Manchester City going forward. It's the most dangerous I think we've looked, which is bizarre.
it just shows you that the money doesn't buy you quality. Like that 100 million that we got from Jack. I mean, he's just irreplaceable for us, and
The whole football club has suffered from the loss of Jack Grealish. People say, "Oh, you got to let it go. You got to stop going on about him," but we haven't
no,
recovered from it.
we
It's
haven't
there for everyone to see.
we haven't recovered from it.
We've not recovered from it. Too
Uh,
much was built around him as well, and that wasn't sustainable. It turns out you
yeah,
can't build everything around one man. It don't work.
exactly. And I just think the whole window. I mean, I think the best window we had was when we brought in Martinez, Cash, and Watkins. That was a great window.
It's a measured window that was.
Second season was very, very good, and obviously the reason we tailed off mainly was because of Jack's injury.
If he doesn't get injured, I think we're probably eighth, seventh,
Probably,
eighth that
yeah,
season.
probably. When you finish the season beating Tottenham and Chelsea, and you're looking pretty handy. Oh, my TV's gone off pause.
You better go and sort that out.
Yeah, just have
Yeah.
you chat
I mean,
for
there's nothing I could.
a second.
You chat for a second. Who am I going to chat to? Oh, look at the start of it. Yeah. Apologies for anyone tuning into this because it is pretty depressing. I'm not enjoying it myself, but I think it's important this time to be realistic. And I've said before, I'm not someone who comes on here and is unreasonable or calls people out, or people would accuse. I think I've been accused of toxic positivity earlier. I don't think I've been positive at any point this season. I think I've been quite critical, probably the most critical I've ever been actually on the Villa View all the way through this season, and it's accumulated in tonight where I'm just saying I don't see how we move forward, and
Listen,
Darwin obviously feels the same, and lots of
everyone's
people feel the same. Twitter, I would say as well, usually social media is pretty unreasonable, and obviously there's always going to be a couple that are unreasonable. I think this time last year, some of the stuff that was being said about Smith was really harsh. I didn't like it. I'm not seeing too much that I can disagree with
yeah.
on Twitter this season. Obviously, there's always a few idiots, but generally, I think everyone's largely from the fan base singing from the same hymn sheet. They're not being unreasonable.
No.
They're not being horrible. They just think it's not working. And I think, if we're sat here thinking that, there'll be very few that aren't thinking the same way.
Yeah.
Because we hear stuff of what's going on at the club. We speak to people. I'm not really feeling from anyone that it's going the right way, and it's hard. Ex players, it's difficult. People that work in football, it's difficult to see where we're going at this current trajectory other than a relegation fight, and that is not good enough, and that isn't continuous improvement, whatever anyone said. I don't think realistically we were going to be in a dogfight last season. We had an awful run, 5 games. Dean Smith didn't know his best team. But we're certainly not a better team now. Having spent a few more quid.
We're worse. I think we've got worse under George. So this progressive improvement, and this, that, as he said, this no excuse culture that he wanted to bring into the club. Rangers fans warned us about Beale, and I know with Beale, last season we weren't great towards the end, but a lot of Rangers fans warned us that it was the Michael Beale show, and he was the catalyst behind everything. And I know for a fact Jar doesn't take training, and I think even Martinez.
It's pretty clear that Villa operate in a different way to any other club, which in itself I think is that innovative.
Martinez even said on that with that interview with Foster that Beale was like a second manager, and him going clearly has been a huge, it's been a huge confidence dampener for Gerrard, and clearly Critchley has come in, and it hasn't even, I don't know what style he's trying to implement, but whatever he's bringing in, because from again what I gather, the sessions Monday to Friday during the week they're all him. It's all him. So it's essentially
Gerrard's the overseer. He's got a lot of coaching staff. So there's a lot of coaching staff working on different facets of the game. Gerrard oversees it all, and he's the man manager. And I'll say it again, from what I understand, the players don't dislike Gerrard at all. I say on the pitch, it's not even like they're not playing for him. I don't think it's that. I just think they don't know what they should be doing, which is wrong in itself. It just doesn't look like a team that's well coached at the moment. I mean, it's not a fact, but the eye test is Aston Villa do not look like a team that is well coached at the moment,
no.
Anywhere near it. And some people would say, in general football, who don't watch Villa every week, you've got to, these things don't happen overnight. You've got to give time. Look at Arteta now. Arsenal fans have had to go through a lot of pain, and it still might all fall apart. But they had to go through a lot of pain to get to this point now where they are. But Arteta won the FA Cup in his first season. I would say there's always at least been an element of identity, and you could see what Arteta was trying to do. He'd talk about what he wanted to do. I don't know what Villa are trying to do, and it's not translating on the pitch at all. And like I said, that, again, I've said a few things are the most worrying thing, but Villa don't look like a team that are well coached in the slightest, and that's alarming after 12 months.
Yeah, it is, and like I say, it's not the fans that have heightened the expectation. It's not us as a fan base that are thinking above our stage. It's the club and the manager that have said this.
I don't think expectations are sky high. I
we're
think top half in a cup run. I don't think that's unreasonable.
but we're waiting to see what they have told us they're going to offer. We're still waiting to see it. And Perzo's statement, which we've mentioned before, when Smith got sacked again, he's made a rod for his own back. Gerard bang on about give me a pre-season, give me a
The club
pre-season.
put a lot of credence on pre-season.
Yeah,
A lot.
arguably the pre-season was a disaster, and for me, I thought the transfer window was shocking as well.
I don't
And
think it was shocking because I think they did bring in two
I
real
think
high quality players.
no, I think it was shocking. I think it was shocking, and there wasn't enough money spent. We still didn't address the issue. Still haven't got a goal scorer. And still didn't bring in a quality
But we
number.
have got two goal scorers. Watkins has scored a fair few goals across the last two
Not
seasons, and Danny Ings has
not
scored
enough.
a lot of Premier League
Not,
goals.
yeah, but not for Villa. Ings hasn't done it.
Yeah, not for Villa, sure, but his goal contributions over the time he's been at the club are pretty good in terms of goals and assists. Ings is pretty good. The problem is it doesn't all fit together, and that's the biggest problem. Jack Grealish left, played left wing for Villa. We didn't sign a left winger. We
Yeah,
didn't sign a left-sided player. Coutinho's playing there at the moment. Is he playing as a number 10? Is he playing as a left-sided midfielder? I don't know. I just don't know. I can't tell. And again, that tells me that we're not well coached.
yeah.
And I'm concerned.
We're just we're just we can sit here all night
I'm
and go.
more than concerned.
We'd sit here all night and go over the same points and the same points and go over the same cover old ground. But the facts are, it's pretty grim. It's a pretty grim watch. And
I don't think there's a bad players. I genuinely don't think that. And I don't.
then we
I,
say that, but we say
I,
that, but
they're
we say
not.
that. Yeah, but we say that, obviously, and I said it as well. Like all of these players, sure, are good enough to break into the top half, but are they? Clearly, maybe they're just not. Maybe they're just not good enough as a collective, as a unit. Maybe they're just not good enough.
Collectively, we're miles off it at the moment. That includes the coaching staff, manager, players, and the club in general. We're not good at the moment. You can't say that we are.
And people say, oh, we lost Carlos and we lost Kamara. Well, Carlos, we got beat by Bournemouth and we got beat by Palace. I believe Carlos was still on the team at that point.
No, I think
Then,
he was out by then. It was Everton was the
then
second game of the season. He played he played pretty much two games. Carlos,
Kamara's pretty much played 80%
yeah,
this season,
but
and
you can see he's a good player.
yeah, definitely a good player. But I mean, don't think that if he was still on that pitch, then we would have won the leads or won the game tonight. Because again, there's no evidence to back that up. Because when he was playing, we were still shocking. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I just kind of want to log off now and go and watch a film or something.
It's 11:15. If you start a film now, you're going to be going to bed at
I'm off this week. I'm off all week. It's my birthday Friday, so I've got the week off.
I'll stop policing your bedtime then.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I mean we are probably repeating ourselves. It's hard to do these straight after a game. It's hard to do them at any point at the moment. Another thing I will say is that because I've done a lot of general football stuff over the last few years, I have a following that now isn't just Villa fans, and I'm having a lot of fans tweet me from other teams saying Villa are the worst team in the league to watch.
Mm.
That's usually a decent barometer. If other teams fans are saying that to you,
Yeah.
again, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had no enjoyment out of coming on here and talking about my club being poor. Absolutely zero enjoyment at all. It's not what I like doing. I feel like I've done it too much over the 4 or 5 years we've been in the
Wouldn't it be great to get Perzo on this channel?
Just what it wouldn't happen.
Wouldn't it be great to get somebody from the club on this channel just to talk to us and talk to fans?
It will never happen.
But wouldn't it? But it should happen. I mean, it should happen. In
fairness, I don't think it happens at many clubs.
But I'm just saying, mate. At the minute, we don't know what's going on in the club. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and what we can see on the pitch tells us that behind the scenes is an absolute shit show. And the communication at the minute is non-existent. There's nothing from the club in any way. All we're getting is these ridiculous training videos and happy birthday tweets and all smiles.
Again, I would say that's normal for a club that isn't doing that. That isn't just Villa. It's normal.
It is. I know it is, but it's not normal how dreadful we are on the pitch. So at least try and change up a little bit. At least give us something. At least come out. Just you know what fans are like. Fans are we are as football fans. We're very very easily pleased, right? All it takes is a little quote or a little message from the owner saying, "Listen, guys, you know what? We understand that it's not big enough, and we're doing all we can." Blah 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 blah. A little statement to come out and say, "Listen, we acknowledge what's going on here, and we're all pulling in the same direction." Just some kind of garbage like that, because that'll give you.
Then it's garbage. That's what everyone would do, so that's why they don't do it.
But nobody does it. like nobody really does that. But why not? Why not just come out and say something? Because there's nothing. We're getting nothing from the players, and we're getting nothing from the club. Yet we're still piling in, hundreds of thousands of pounds on a weekly basis, and we're getting nothing back from anyone. And I just think, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be refreshing that if somebody came out and said something, and there was a little quote an update from the club, some kind of update, just on where we're at. That's all.
I guess that was what Purslow was doing the other day at the AGM, but I've got to say I've seen very little from it.
No, I've
There's
seen
a
nothing.
few tidbits that people have
Yeah,
tweeted, but someone put something on Twitter, you don't actually know whether it's true or not, and I don't know. It's not good.
let's
There's
call
nothing
it.
else to say. Let's go.
Let's call it a
Yeah,
night, please.
thank you to Purity for continuing to sponsor us. If you use the code #VillaView, you will get 10% off everything that they have to offer. We'll give it one last shout out. For all that we're talking about the club, the bad stuff going on at the club at the moment. There's a lot of good going on with the Villa Foundation. They're always doing the best for the people of Birmingham and in the name of Aston Villa. Some great people there. So I took part in the big sleep out on Friday. Slept rough. It was Villa Park in the Trinity Road concourse. It was horrible.
Watching Tails brush
not.
his teeth. Watching Tails brush his teeth.
Tails brush his teeth.
Was
That was
more
the highlight of the
exciting,
season for me. Watching Tails brush his teeth
was
in the
more
Trinity
exciting
Road.
than watching those players in the pitch. So yeah,
But yeah,
we
there's
all
more important things than football, as much as we talked about it for the last 40 minutes. There's more important things than football, and there's people that are genuinely going to be suffering in the cold, long winter months, with not having food, sleeping rough, struggling to survive. I did it once in far superior conditions to what they'll do in. I had layers on, I was in a sleeping bag, I was freezing cold. It was just horrible, and they have to worry about the safety above everything else when they're sleeping rough as well. The Villa kitchen will provide them with some form of relief and make, what tough lives for these people will make their life better just by having a meal. So yeah, I did the sleep out in that name of the Villa Foundation for Villa Kitchen. The link should be hopefully in the description of this video. It's all over my Twitter and Instagram as well. If you can spare anything, even if a few people just donate me £1. If everyone who watched this video donated £1, brilliant. That would make some serious money for the foundation. Thanks to everyone that has sponsored me already, because there's been a lot of you, and I've done all right, done well so far. I'm happy with the amount of raise, but I'd love to raise even more for the Villa Foundation and the Villa Kitchen. So if you can, please look out for the link in the description. Go on my social media. Please sponsor me and support the foundation, because they work hard and they're doing some wonderful stuff for the people of Birmingham. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. I'll have a match preview at the end of the week for the Chelsea game. Already looking forward to that one. Thanks for tuning in tonight. If you tune in after as well, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've taken something away from the video. It won't be enjoyment, but just seeing two Villa fans stressed, having a chat. Hopefully it's helped in some way. Thanks very much. Up the Villa.